Hello and welcome to Friday's ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the southeast. The oil slick threatening the coast of East Kent, an anxious watch and wait at Deal, and now the search for the source of the pollution.
Such a shame when they've worked so hard to clean up the sea and then you get these slicks coming through.
Smooth sailing at Dover and Eurotunnel, with so far little of the chaos holiday makers endured last weekend. So have border staffing issues been fixed?
And ready to roar, we're in Bearstead at the club where it all started for England's Alicia Russo as the Lionesses get set for their Wembley showdown.
I really enjoyed watching the game and her goal was incredible, so it was amazing. I loved watching it.
Could you repeat the goal that she scored?
No, I don't think so, not yet at least.
Good evening. A huge emergency operation to prevent a larger oil spill off the Kent coast causing serious harm to marine life appears to have been successful.
Well, the slick was discovered, prompting a containment operation involving crews working round the clock, both at Ramsgate and at Deal.
Live now to James Dunham, who is in Deal tonight. So, James, crisis averted.
Thankfully, Sangeeta, it certainly does seem that way. There's been a fair amount of relief here today because when you think of oil spill, you imagine thick black tar washing up on beaches, closing them and causing huge amounts of devastation to marine life. But here, the only discoloration that I've seen in the sea today are the pockets of seaweed, and that in part is down to this huge emergency operation. This image now is of several absorbent blocks which were being prepared at Ramsgate to be sent out to soak up some of that oil. We know that 2 large vessels, including one from Great Yarmouth in Norfolk, were sent to the scene, and the sunshine has also been helping to evaporate some of that oil. Here at the beach in Dill today, people have been enjoying the good weather, but I think there's also been a fair amount of concern from locals but also wildlife experts about the potential impact this spill could have had.
When we were kids, we were just saying we used to play on the beach and there used to be like tar on the beach. But I suppose things change over the years and they've cleaned it up. But yeah, it's such a shame when they've worked so hard to clean up the sea and then you get these slicks coming through.
I was just looking out now, can't see anything at the moment, so I just hope this, carries on like this.
It's carnival week, so you've got a lot of people coming down.
And holiday.
And holidays, yeah. But it's awful.
The fact that they're trying to keep it offshore is a great thing, because if it reaches our coastline, I think the biggest concern with our intertidal areas is if our filter feeders, like our oysters and mussels, get it in their system, it can work its way up the food web and things like that. And it also, if we're eating those animals, for example, we have the oyster fisheries around Thanet, then that can become a problem for human health as well.
So, James, what are the chances now of small quantities of the oil actually washing up?
I think slim is the answer, Sangeeta. All the modelling that's been carried out suggests that the spill will move within 5 nautical miles of the Dover coast before making its way away from land overnight. Anyone heading to the beach, though, in the next 24 hours should listen to this message from the Coast Guard.
Well, if you see what you think is oil, report it to us, report it to your local council. We'll come out, we'll check it out. We are monitoring the shoreline daily, 2 or 3 times a day. We've got Coast Guard rescue teams out there checking them to make sure. I can't never say never, but you know what? Everything has been put in its place to make sure that we absolutely do our best to make sure it doesn't come ashore.
There's been all sorts of speculation over the cause of this oil slick. We know it's not from a ruptured pipe. There's been some suggestions that a wreck may be responsible. The Coast Guard says it's not confirming anything until the oil is dealt with and its investigations, Sangeeta, are complete.
James Dunham, live in Deal, thank you. A man has been arrested after a suspicious package was reported in Burgess Hill yesterday afternoon. A 100-metre cordon was set up for a number of hours with armed officers and snipers among those called to the brow near to the American Express building. Sussex Police said officers successfully destroyed the package before the cordon was lifted. The man remains in custody.
A mother from Hove has been given a suspended prison sentence for administering a noxious substance to her severely disabled 10-year-old son. 48-year-old Pembe Mehmet Alio Galari has been cleared of the attempted murder of her 10-year-old son Mustafa. She gave him an antidepressant before he later died in hospital in September 2018. A post-mortem examination found the presence of non-prescribed medication in his system. She has since been sentenced to 2 years in prison, suspended for 18 months.
Wayne Cousins from Deal, who's serving a whole life term for the murder of Sarah Everard, is set to die in jail after losing a bid to reduce his sentence. He murdered the 33-year-old marketing executive in March last year when he was a serving Met police officer. After a Court of Appeal bid, 5 judges refused to lower his whole life term.
Now, the second busiest weekend of the year for cross-channel traffic has got off to a smooth start amid fears that we might see a repeat of last weekend's chaos.
Both the Port of Dover and Eurotunnel say they're flowing well despite a surge in bookings for the summer getaway. With more, here's John Ryle.
The fear this weekend, one of the busiest of the year cross-channel, was a repeat of these scenes from last weekend, when the need post-Brexit for passport checks coupled with a shortage of French border control staff at Dover, caused port and motorway chaos.
Those chaotic scenes last Friday triggered a rare attack on French immigration by port bosses here. They accused the French Immigration Service of failing to properly staff the extra passport booths that have been put into place for one of the busiest weekends of the year. And that telling off appears to have worked. Today, it's a very different picture.
This morning, the French passport control staff turned up and Dover, though very heavily booked, ran smoothly, with the port's chief executive confident that assuming no accidents or unexpected events, the port would cope well right through the weekend.
During the course of the week, we spent a lot of time talking to partners and indeed with Police Off Frontier, and I'm so grateful and relieved that they've stepped up in the way that they have. They've responded so well from a local level all the way through the leadership to make certain that we had the resources, and that has been the fundamental difference of why it's operating so well today.
And he's optimistic about the rest of the summer.
What this shows is that if we execute pursuant to the summer plan, the traffic flows very, very smoothly. And as long as we can keep up this rhythm, I've got confidence for the summertime.
Smooth running also today at the Eurotunnel terminal at Folkestone.
It's good. We've had a steady flow of traffic coming into the terminal since sort of 5 or 6 o'clock this morning. We've been running 4 departures per hour, loading those all the way through. There's no queuing pre-check-in.
So, accidents and absenteeism permitting, the second busiest weekend of the summer is looking smooth cross-channel. John Ryle, ITV News, Dover.
You're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Coming up,
the big game this Sunday, and the big question, are the Sussex Meerkats predicting a victory for England or for Germany? We'll find out.
For some of us today got into the high 20s, but will the heat last through the weekend, or is there change in store? I will of course have all the details. Join me shortly.
And for more on today's top stories, please go to itv.com/Meridian. You can call us. Our number's on the screen now. It's 0808 1010 095. And remember, you can also follow us. That's on Facebook, that's on Twitter, and that's on Instagram.
Now, there are 194 non-native invasive species in the UK, that's animal, insects and plants, that have come into this country and become part of the environment, in many cases, though, having a detrimental impact on our native species.
Well, dealing with those effects costs around £2 billion a year, according to one estimate. And it's feared that with climate change, even more non-native creatures and plants could become established here. Kevin Ashford has been finding out what's being done to try to control their spread.
Asian hornets love to eat honeybees, and in countries like France where they've spread, bee populations have been hit hard. The hornets have been spotted in this country, but aren't yet established here, although it's feared that that could soon change, which is why scientists are working on ways to electronically tag the hornets to discover where they're living.
The nests can be quite hidden. Very often they're up in very tall trees. They're hidden by the leaf canopy, or they can be in bramble patches and sometimes nearer the ground. So they can be very difficult to spot visually, which is why having a technique like the radio tracking is very useful for us to be able to effectively track a hornet back to find where that nest is without being able to see it visually. And then that can be controlled.
The number of invasive species has been increasing steadily. This expert from the Freshwater Habitats Trust, which works on sites across the south and southeast, says the public can do their part in helping limit their spread.
Always park in a car park, stick to the tracks to protect our wetland wildlife, and you know that's going to be a sure way to prevent the spread of invasive species that we bring on our bike tyres, our footwear, tents even, and fishing tackle. So yeah, make sure we're keeping it clean and accessing the right places for the right activity.
Science is playing a big part in trying to counter the impact of invasive species, such as this trialling of the use of sap-sucking insects to control Japanese knotweed. However, trying to keep on top of invaders like this Himalayan balsam is still often a very physical task.
The big issue is the seeds. When the seed heads explode, you'll get maybe up to 1,000 seeds. They scatter over about 7 square metres, they float downstream. So that's what your problem is. It's an annual, so it'll die each year, but it's a seed bank. We do our best to keep on top of it, but obviously if you don't do it, we'll just totally take over the riverbank.
It's estimated that dealing with invasive species like this Himalayan balsam costs the UK economy some £2 billion every year. A problem that size requires some serious action to try to tackle it. Wildlife groups have come together to call for an increase in government spending to deal with invasive species already here and prevent more from becoming established.
We've endorsed what the Environmental Audit Committee in the House of Commons has called for, which is a budget of £6 million a year to increase that border force inspectorate, to help with the messaging, all the work that's been done. And we reckon, and the Audit Committee agrees with us, that would save £2.7 billion by 2040. Those are big numbers when you consider £6 million isn't an awful lot of money in these days.
The government says they've made progress towards eradicating 9 invasive species from Great Britain and have expanded the non-native species inspectorate to enforce legislation and identify emerging risks. Many predict climate change will increase the number of our invasive species, as for example our winters become milder, meaning more species will be able to survive here all year round. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Now, it's been an incredible summer of sport so far, hasn't it? From Wimbledon to the Tour de France, and there's no sign of it letting up just yet.
Now it's the Commonwealth Games, in which 5,000 athletes are competing in 280 medal events, and competitors from the home nations will get the loudest cheers of all.
Yeah, they will, and our own Chloe Oliver is live in Birmingham tonight. And Chloe, what's been the excitement on day one then?
Oh, Luke, there's been so much going on here on the first full day of sporting events here in Birmingham. The crowds have been building and so has the atmosphere. It was completely electric last night at the Alexander Stadium for the opening ceremony. There was so much going on, and the real star of the show was the mechanical bull, which has actually been transported here to Centenary Square. Now, it took 50 people 5 months to build, and I got really excited because just a few minutes ago it started to move. Some people have gone inside it and the mechanics have been moving. Well, onto the sport now, and we've got 14 events that have got underway today with 16 golds up for grabs. Well, the first event to start was the lawn bowls, and the para lawn bowls athlete Michelle White from Dartford and from Whitstable, Sian Honour, who I know you'll be hearing a lot more from in a few minutes' time. And as well, we've seen massive queues for the gymnastics stadium, where Maidstone's James Hall, Dartford's Gianni Regini Moran and Courtney Tulloch are competing tonight to try to retain Team England's gold win in 2018. In the triathlon, Sophie Caldwell from Gravesend finished 4th, saying she was gutted to have missed out on a medal. And the cycling, which is the only event that's being held in London and not here in the Midlands, has seen Sophie Unwin from Tunbridge come 3rd in the tandem cycling qualifier. Swimmers from the southeast will be diving into the brand new aquatic centre, which is one of the only venues here specifically built for the Commonwealth Games, and that will all be kicking off in around an hour's time.
So Chloe, what can we look forward to at the weekend then?
There's so much going on Saturday and Sunday. Tomorrow is the big marathon day where runners will take on 26.2 miles running right past us here and the Library of Birmingham. They'll also, despite being as far away from a beach as we can get, like the likes of Margate and Brighton, there'll be beach volleyball. And we'll be here for the full 11 days of the event to bring you the latest.
Yeah, so much more to come. Speak to you next week, Chloe. Thank you. Well, staying with the Games, a mother from Whitstable is hoping to bowl over the competition as she represents Team England at her 4th Commonwealth Games.
Sian Honour has secured 3 podiums at her last 3 events and is hoping to add to her medal haul in Birmingham. But she's told ITV News Meridian the home games will be made even more special if she can win in front of her children.
Well, Joe Caution has been to meet her at the Appleyard Club in Sittingbourne.
The Commonwealth Games is the major event for bowls athletes, the one everyone wants to win, but it only comes around every 4 years. Sian Honour is well versed in preparing for them though. Birmingham will be her 4th.
First games back in 2010, seems a long time ago, and since then I've had 3 children. So yeah, it feels brilliant to be selected again, and also with the home games as well, just makes it even more special. It's very special to be able to have, certainly my older children, to be able to come and watch, which they're going to do, and they're quite excited about it as well, and I know that they've been sort of telling their schoolmates and their teachers, and that's really nice from my point of view. Like, that makes me proud, and it's important for me to sort of show them what they can achieve if they put hard work in.
Any budding bowlers in the family?
They do everything, but yeah, my husband's quite keen to steer them into something with a bit more money, I think. If I aimed for there, it might kind of catch that.
Nevertheless, Sian has a wealth of medals to show for her success, winning bronze in Delhi, gold in Glasgow and bronze on the Gold Coast in the women's triples.
Okay, so your line was perfect.
Alongside her for the first of those was her now coach and England women's assistant manager Sandy from Sheppey.
She's just really professional in everything she does, always willing to help out. So yeah, it's great to have somebody local playing at the Commonwealth Games. The players have to be physically and mentally fit. They can't just stand on the green and play. It is a mental sport, and they have to be fit in all ways. And I can honestly say the team have all put everything into this Commonwealth Games, and I don't think their preparation could have been any better.
Perfect preparations and playing on home greens that they're all used to in Leamington. It can only be a sign for success for Sian and Team England. Joe Caution, ITV News, Sittingbourne.
So the big summer of sport continues at the Commonwealth Games, and it culminates this Sunday in the UEFA Women's Championship final at 5 o'clock when England take on Germany at Wembley.
Yeah, huge crowds are expected, watching on TV at home and even bigger TVs at fan zones around the region.
Glenn Thompson is at the Folkestone Harbour Arm, where this Sunday hundreds will be watching. Looking pretty busy there this evening, Glenn.
It certainly is, Sangeeta. Yes, this is a bit of a dress rehearsal, I guess you could say, for the big match on Sunday. It's a fabulous setting, as you say, the Folkestone Harbour Arm. Anybody who comes along here on Sunday will witness the game, of course, on a rather large screen. In fact, so large, you could see the match pretty well on that over the channel in France. I jest, but of course England will win, won't they? Joining us on the programme this evening, James Davies is the Commercial Operations Manager at the Folkestone Harbour Arm. James, a great setting for hopefully a great match.
Yeah, it's a fantastic setting. We get loads of families down here, hopefully lots more to cheer on the Lionesses in the final. This will be our second final, European final, in 12 months, which is great for English football.
In terms of capacity, it sounds like we're talking about a stadium here. What are we looking at?
Roughly about 800 at max, so we might be able to squeeze a few more in.
OK, now these sort of events are very, very important for your sort of economy, aren't they?
Yeah, getting visitors down here is massive for us down on Folkestone Harbour. It's great for Folkestone as a whole as well.
All right, well, a little prediction from you as to the final score on Sunday?
I think we'll win 3-1, England will.
3-1, OK. James Davies, thank you so much for joining us. Well, of course, Alessia Russo, Kent's Alessia Russo, is a major part of the lineup on Sunday. Of course, she started her footballing career here in Kent at Bearsted Football Club. I went along there this morning to see grassroots football in action. There seems to be a new, invigorated love of the beautiful game. Thanks to the Women's European Championships, we're now seeing an increase in the sport at grassroots level. Bearsted Football Club is where England sensation Alessia Russo began her successful career, and many of these youngsters want to follow in her footsteps.
I feel like it's important to learn it because you have more skill when you grow up, and if you want to be a footballer, you have more skill to build up to getting better and better when you're older.
It's important so you can develop your skill and get an understanding of it.
Coach Colin Whitfield is keen to see more clubs get involved in nurturing younger talent, but success rides on a number of factors.
You know, there are other clubs locally that can, but it really comes down to what infrastructure's in place at the clubs and whether they've got the volunteers that are happy to help out week in, week out. Fortunately, with Bearsted Football Club, you know, there's a lot of people willing to help, and that's what makes it successful.
Clubs like this are also keen to promote the healthy aspects of the game: camaraderie, team spirit, and the mental health benefits.
Personally, I've got 2 young girls, and just getting them off the sofa, out doing activity is really, really important. So football's really helped, especially with my youngest. I also run a business in wellbeing and mental health, and so for young people. So it's just really important, I know, from grassroots in any type of sport.
Young players can get scouted from the age of 7 until 22. And it's estimated that there are more than 40,000 grassroots football clubs across the UK. Former Southend United and Gillingham player Andy Ford now devotes much of his time teaching a new generation of player. For him, standards in the women's game are high.
I've been amazed that the standard has come up so quickly. Like the other night on the TV, one of the things that really sort of impressed me was there was no arguing with the ref. If they got injured, they just got up and went on with it again, which was good to see.
As for a prediction for Sunday's final between England and Germany,
2-0 to England or more.
I think maybe 2-1 or to England.
Whatever the outcome on Sunday, be sure it'll be a nail-biting final. Glenn Tomsett, ITV News. Well, as you'd expect, excitement across the country and indeed across this part of Kent is is mounting big time, and of course becoming very infectious.
Hoping for a win, but it's going to be a tough game because everyone's going to want it. So hopefully it'll be a good game to watch.
Score prediction?
Maybe about 2-1 England.
It's going to be a quite even match, Germany versus England in the finals.
What do you think is going to happen on Sunday?
England will win 3-1.
I'm so proud of the English Lionesses. I wish the men can play the same.
And what about the score on Sunday?
Oh, it's got to be a 3-0 win.
I'm hoping that we're going to win.
Come on, England.
If we can beat Sweden.
Yeah, right.
It's just shown that football's accessible for all and sport's accessible for all.
Do you think we could win on Sunday?
Well, of course we could win. I don't think we can win, I know we can win.
And Glenn, that confidence is shared, isn't it? You've got some very scientific proof.
Very scientific proof indeed, Sangeeta. Yes, let's just check out what these little fellas have to say. Okay.
And as you can see, all the meerkats have confidently chosen England.
They've picked England, haven't they?
Yeah, they're in the England bucket. So that just proves, doesn't it, that England are going to win on Sunday with just 48 hours, a tad over 48 hours until that final whistle blows, of course. It's proof, of course, that the UEFA Women's Championship has been nail-biting and excitement. And what an occasion to remember.
Certainly has been. Glenn, thank you so much, and fingers crossed, and I think they've got everything
I think the
it
meerkats
takes.
are right, aren't they?
Yeah,
as well?
absolutely. Well, we'll find out on Monday, but I'm pretty confident too.
Well,
I'm
it was
not a
lovely.
meerkat.
It was lovely weather there in Folkestone. Hopefully it's going to be a nice weekend. And Holly's here now. You've got some viewers' pictures for us.
I have got a few viewers' pictures. I have a question though about the buckets and the meerkats.
Go on, ask.
Do we know what was in them? Do we think one maybe had more? I'm just saying.
Maybe nicer treats in the England bucket.
Well, we were so mesmerised by the pictures.
I don't know.
What do meerkats eat? I don't even know what they would like.
I don't know what meerkats eat. I feel like this is a whole new weather chat for next week, isn't it? Should we take a look at those viewer photos?
Go on then.
Here we go. This is today. A lovely start in Hastings. Sunshine around. Today we've been up at sort of 26, 27 in places. So it has been a warm one, not much cloud there. But in recent days I've had quite a few good cloud photos in and questions from our viewers about what's going on. So John in Colgate says, what's happening here? A couple of things. Can you see the colours there around the sun behind the tree?
Yeah.
That is called a cloud iridescence. So that's when you get a thin veil of cloud across the sun, small little water droplets, and you get this sort of scattering of the light from the sun. You get those colours coming through. You've also got that stripe through the cloud as well.
That, yeah.
We know what that is.
Oh, go on, what
I can tell you. It's a vapour trail, isn't it?
Do you know, it's kind of the opposite of a vapour trail in many ways. I had a few photos of it. This is another one. I think what this is, yes, it's an aircraft, but it's going through water droplets, causing them to freeze and then causing those frozen droplets to fall away and sort of create this hole in the clouds. Instead of getting cloud, you've sort of got an absence of cloud, if that makes sense.
It
But you don't see that very often. Finally, this is a shot from last night of the Delta Aquarids meteor shower, which is peaking this weekend. Maybe not the most exciting of our meteor showers, but you can still see up to around 25 meteors or so an hour. So worth looking up at the skies if you fancy a bit of a sight in the next few nights.
And will it be kind of good conditions?
Yeah, it should be actually some clear skies around. Best viewed in the early hours from about 2 o'clock. So set your alarm early.
Thank you. Yeah, let's get your weekend weather forecast now. Here's Holly.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Temperatures for some getting into the high 20s for today, and we've still got warm air in place. In fact, it gets increasingly warm into the weekend. And when you've got some sunshine, temperatures will be pushing their way upwards once more, but there is more cloud around at times, and we could see a little bit of showery rain. That's most likely, I think, into Sunday, but I don't think it'll amount to very much. This is the bigger picture. We've got this high pressure, the Azores high extending across us. We've also got approaching weather fronts, but to be honest, by the time they reach us, they may not do too much, and there is uncertainty, especially into Sunday, about exactly how this feature moves its way in. But let's look at the detail for this evening. Well, sunshine out there and pretty quiet really through the night tonight. You might see a touch of mistiness. Quite a warm one for most. Temperatures remain in the teens. So that's the pictures we head into tomorrow morning. And for tomorrow, I do think we'll have some sunshine around once again. A little bit more cloud starts to feed in as the day wears on. A very small chance of a shower, but the vast majority stay dry. This southwesterly, though, picking up through the day, and temperatures always that bit fresher into the coast where you have got that breeze coming in off the sea. Venture inland, though, I think we could easily see some 26s, possibly the odd 27 or maybe 28 degrees. Then into Sunday, I've popped a shower symbol there on my chart, and you might see a little bit of showery rain at times. Equally though, ahead of that front, we could well get some warm sunshine coming through, and temperatures still doing very nicely.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Well, we have got low levels of grass pollen at the moment, which is good news because that's the pollen that the majority of hay fever sufferers are affected by, but still moderate levels of weed pollen into the coming days. Take care.
Now the ITV Evening News continues in just a moment, tonight with Lucrezia Millarini.
For now though, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you so much for watching. Have a fabulous weekend and...
Come on England!
Come on England. See you Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.